Hi, everyone, and welcome into Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Matthew Moreno. Joining me today is our managing editor, Blake Williams, and senior staff writer, Scott Geirman. And we're with you guys to talk a little Dodgers bullpen, and in particular, Evan Phillips. If you've been watching recently, heading into the All-Star break, coming out of the All-Star break, Phillips hasn't quite looked like his usual self. Dave Roberts was asked about his status as Dodgers closer, and he said, quote, "To be quite honest, I'm going to pitch him in leverage, but I don't know what that looks like. Can I see him still finishing games with the right lanes? Absolutely. But is there a chance that I pitch him in the seventh inning in leverage? Sure." Not the most ringing endorsement for Evan Phillips. Dave Roberts did later go on to say that the Dodgers do need him to pitch better and to be a contributor for them, and that it's on the team's pitching coaches to get Phillips sort of back on track. Blake, I know you have a love-hate relationship with relief pitchers. So are you chalking this up to Phillips being a victim of you can't predict reliever success year over year?
I think so. There's a lot of randomness to his numbers so far this year. His batting average on balls in play allowed is 288, and for his career, when he's been really good, he's been around the 220 mark. So it's a factor of some unlucky outcomes there, mixed with he's not being as effective overall, whether that's with his control. That's probably the main thing there, because his walk rate has skyrocketed up about another walk per 9 innings from 1.9 to 2.9 this year. So he's been a victim of some unlucky outcomes, and he's also struggling himself. I know we go back to the Detroit Tigers series when he allowed a home run to Colt Keith. Like, that was a left-handed hitter, and they've given him troubles this year, but he made a really good pitch there, and he just got beat on it. So, like, that's not the kind of thing I'd want to hold against him particularly, but he hasn't been good versus lefties at all. He's still been pretty good versus righties, but the results just haven't been there. And for a Dodger team, they need him to get back on track. He is one of their high leverage guys, and without him, it kind of puts you in a tougher position because you do have a lot of relievers injured, and the bullpen has been great overall, but it's still just you need that guy at the back end of your bullpen to help anchor everyone and kind of get everyone into their right places, because it allows Trinan to be the fireman and Daniel Hudson to be the eighth inning or seventh inning guy and Vesia to be their lefty specialist. So it just gives you more options when he's locked in as the closer, and it benefits them a lot.
Scott, Phillips' struggles against lefties is something you and Blake have discussed on live shows that we've had recently over the past few days. Is it just as simple as he's not getting left-handers out as much anymore? Is there anything else that you've maybe noticed with him?
I think it might just be that. A lot of his stuff's kind of hanging towards the middle. His cutters, for whatever it is, he's giving up, pretty high expected slug here, 494 expected slug. He's given up, it's been a tough go again versus lefties. That's been kind of where I've been hinging it on. That you saw it the other night when Dave Roberts opted to go to Daniel Hudson, against a string of lefties. It might have just been, and Dave said it was just the hot arm, but that's a situation where, for as exaggerated as and I know Blake and I have discussed that the sample size is small with Evan Phillips' struggles against lefties, and it might just be that they have to tinker with some things, and it's just exaggerated because of it, and some bad outings all lumped together where something's not working. The cutter's not getting in there, the sweeper's hanging, however it's working out. Stuff's bleeding over the middle of the plate. It might just be for the now. And, for the past few seasons, Evan Phillips has been terrific. He's been one of the best relief pitchers in Major League Baseball. I just think right now, the issue with him against lefties is he's allowing a ton of hard contact on poorly located pitches. It's been a lot. And Dave Roberts being not kind of non-committal on it. I know we've got some quotes from Dave, but him being non-committal about Evan Phillips in the closer role just opens him up for the possibility that they don't want to keep him in those same spots if there are some struggles, which he has shown against lefties, that are hindering his ability to be, just a pure lockdown guy.
Yeah, and with Dave's quote, he didn't say obviously that Phillips is not the closer anymore, but he did allow for moving him out of that role if necessary. And it was interesting to me because I think it's a little bit of a different strategy than he had with like Kenley Jansen in years past when Kenley was struggling, right? It was always Dave saying, "I'm running it back out there, running it back out there." Scott, do you think that maybe Phillips, will it benefit him to maybe pitch the seventh inning instead of the ninth, the eighth inning instead of the ninth? Or do you think that it would make more sense to just let him continue to close games if there is that save opportunity?
Mixture of both. I think that matchups wise, like until they figure it out, like until they figure out why he's having such exaggerated struggles against lefties, I think it would benefit him a ton if he were to be in plus scenarios. If it's in the seventh inning, if it's not the fireman role right now, because if he's having struggles versus one handedness than the other, I think it would be best to get him some matchups and continue to work on how he can, better himself against lefties behind the scenes and side sessions. And then when they're going to, deploy that in game, we'll see it happen. But I think his best stuff is in that fireman role, in a versatile role. But a fortunate spot, like Blake brought up, is that they have several guys that have closed games out. Daniel Hudson, I think he has 6 closes, like 6 saves this year. And, after last night's, save opportunity from Daniel Hudson, he's got 40 and a third innings pitched this year. Like Daniel Hudson's been an arm that's been very consistent. I feel very strongly about the options that they have if Dave Roberts decides that the matchup might not be right for Evan Phillips, and we could go to Daniel Hudson or we can go to Alex Vesia because they have optionality, which is something the Dodgers have benefited from. And for a few years, it was like Dave Roberts is going to go with, by committee without saying it. And I think that's something right now for what Evan Phillips is going through, whether it's true or not, might benefit them the most if they definitely stick to it.
Like, so assuming that there are more save opportunities out there if Phillips isn't, sort of locked into the role, if you will, is there, you leaning Daniel Hudson or Blake Trinan, or, is there someone else that you would prefer to maybe see take on the bulk of those opportunities? Trade for Kenley Jansen, maybe?
Not a trade, probably, unless it's like Tanner Scott, top end of the market type pitcher. For me, I think it would just be go with bullpen by committee, play the matchups on every night. I wouldn't totally take Evan Phillips out of those opportunities because I think the Dodgers are there at their best when he is their closer and locking down the 9th inning every night. So yes. I think there's value in maybe giving away a game or two here or there just to try and get him back on track and see if you can get him ready for October. The thing with Evan Phillips, mainly, it's been his cutter has been his biggest issue this year. Basically, hitters against it are batting like Shohei Ohtani. They have a 184 weighted runs created plus off it. Ohtani's at 186. Isolated power against it is in the 300s. Ohtani's at 323. So that's been his go-to pitch versus lefties. And when he doesn't have that, he's not effective versus lefties. His fastball and slider have still been fantastic this year. So maybe it's a thing where they try and figure out a changeup to help him get lefties out or something like that. It seems like that's mainly been his biggest problem there, just the cutter not being able to get lefties out, and they're just crushing it right now. So whether that's command or lack of the stuff on it or whatever it is, that's on them to figure it out. I think the Dodgers do have the ability to figure out and adjust. They've shown that they're pretty good with fixing pitchers and figuring out issues. So I still have faith that they can get him back on track and get him back into that closer role on a full-time basis, and I think that would benefit them the most. So if they keep running him out there every so often and he does give up a game or two, like the Dodgers are going to be in the playoffs. It doesn't matter all that much. You can live with that. It's just about focused on getting ready for October.
All right, let's end with this. I'll open it up to either one of you. If both of you want to answer, great. Considering where things are with Evan Phillips right now, and we're a week out from the trade deadline, do you think the Dodgers' approach and maybe mindset of we need either a high leverage reliever and or a closer, has that changed at all? Do you expect did you think they were going to get a reliever anyway, or are they potentially leaning towards that now?
I think they're going to get a reliever, whether it's a high leverage guy. I'm not sure about that. They'll probably find someone they can throw in their bullpen, maybe someone who's having a down year with some upside that they'll try and fix like they've done in the past. With Chris Martin comes to mind as that big one that really helped them out a lot there. Ryan Brazier, he has a waiver pickup, but just another guy like that. Maybe Michael Kopech gets thrown into a deal with the White Sox or just something along those lines. I don't think it's going to be a priority to go get a reliever. I think they're going to say like, well, we have Bruce Starr coming back, so he can help fill that void a bit. And worst case scenario, it's Alex Vesia, Blake Trinan, and Daniel Hudson are 3 guys we can rely on for saves. So I think they have bigger needs where they're still going to focus elsewhere other than reliever.
Scott, close us out.
He said everything. We're aligned on that. Blake and I, we see eye to eye on the bullpen. We think there's enough. I think we all do. The issue just lies kind of in the guys that they currently have finding their roles, and the only health has been the biggest thing, and we're getting the positive news all the time. Ryan Brazier was at the stadium on Sunday. We're getting news on Brusdar Graterol. Michael Grove is kind of, coming back and in spurts. He's been a solid, productive arm in times when used correctly. But the Dodgers, I think they do have enough. And to what Blake said, I think there are areas of the roster going into the deadline where if they do go out and get someone, it will be, someone that's not as, big name. It could be, if it's Michael Kopech, I'll be surprised. I will be surprised if it's like a Michael Kopech type, but it'll be, a kind of someone that they see something in, that they can get them into their mold. Because of what I have been so big on this year with the Dodgers is their ability to bring some of these guys in. Anthony Banda, Yohan Ramirez in spurts. They found some consistency in their philosophy this year that has been so productive for them. So with Brusdar coming back, you're getting arms, on the mend. Guys are finding their stride. Blake Trinan looks like he's coming out of that little rut he was in where it looked like he was overworked, the layoff, and hopefully they get some starters to, just like you said, mitigate, the pressure on the bullpen to be perfect. As long as they have enough rest, as long as they have enough, arms in the stable and they're not being overworked, I think they have enough where the veteran arms can weather this storm. Joe Kelly back, like I believe they have enough. So there are bigger problems going into the deadline, and I don't think bullpen is anything that they're going to focus on, and give up anything, substantial to acquire.
All right. Well, there you have it. Evan Phillips may not be locked in as a closer right now, but the Dodgers bullpen should certainly be able to manage for the time being. And as much as maybe a reliever does join the team at the trade deadline, these guys don't necessarily think it'll be the high leverage sort of back end guy. And we'll have a week to see how that sort of plays out. I want to thank Scott for joining us. Blake, thank you. As a reminder, let us know in the comments what you think about Evan Phillips and the Dodgers closer situation. And also, don't forget to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring the notification bell. We're going to do a live post-game show tonight. I'll be on with Anthony, and I'll see you then.